hello, and welcome to this video. Somebody said something about way before Tommy Rich was even wildfire. We're going to talk part 3. He's still in Memphis, Tennessee, wrestling for Jerry Jarrett.
1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Let's go.
August 2nd, 1976 at the Boutwell Auditorium in beautiful downtown Birmingham, Alabama. Tojo Yamamoto and Tommy Rich defeated the Masked Superstar number 1, who was Leon Baxter. Masked Superstar number 2 was Richard E. Demon Brown, or some may know him as Dick Dunn. Then August 6, 1976 at the Madison County Coliseum in the not quite as beautiful downtown Huntsville, Alabama, Butch Malone versus Tommy Rich. The winner was unknown in a brass knuckles match. August the 11th, 1976, Tennessee State Fairgrounds Arena in Nashville, Tennessee. And I won't say nothing about Nashville. Tojo Yamamoto and Tommy Rich defeated Masked Superstars 1 and 2 by disqualification. It was for the NWA Southeastern Tag Team titles, the Mid-America version. August 14th, 1976, Memorial Auditorium in gorgeous Chattanooga, Tennessee. Masked Superstar 1 and 2 defeated Robert Fuller and Tommy Rich by disqualification. August 15th, 1976, Louisville Gardens in Louisville, Kentucky. David Schultz and the Scorpion went against Tommy Rich and Don Kernodle. August 20th, 1976, Madison County Coliseum in Huntsville again, Jerry Jarrett and Tommy Rich versus Masked Superstars 1 and 2. August 21st, 1976, Memorial Auditorium in Chattanooga, Tennessee, Masked Superstars number 1 and 2 versus Robert Fuller and Tommy Rich ended without a winner in a no contest for the NWA Southeastern Tag Team titles. It was a no disqualification match, so y'all figure that one out. August 22nd, 1976, Louisville Gardens again, Phil Hickerson and Dennis Condrey, the champions, versus Tommy Rich and Jackie Fargo for the NWA Southern Tag Team titles. August 26th, Coliseum in Jackson, Tennessee. Masked Superstars 1 and 2, the champions versus Tommy Rich and Rip Smith for the NWA Southeastern Tag Team titles. September 3rd, Madison County Coliseum again in Huntsville, Alabama. Superstars 1 and 2 versus, and Big Bad John versus Robert Fuller, Tommy Rich, and Rip Smith, and in an elimination match. September the 4th, Memorial Auditorium again in Chattanooga. Masked Superstars 1 and 2 defeated Tommy Rich and Jerry Stubbs and their defense of the NWA Southeastern Tag Team titles.
Now, some may be asking why the Masked Superstars and Big Bad John were in a 6-man tag team match, because Big Bad John was the manager of the Masked Superstars.
All right, we come up to September the 5th, 1976, the Louisville Gardens in Louisville, Kentucky. It's the Scorpion, Donald Hollis Welch, Don Bass, versus Tommy Rich. September the 6th, 1976, is Boutwell Auditorium in Birmingham. Tommy Rich and Robert Fuller defeated the Masked Superstars in a Texas Tornado match. September the 12th, 1976, Louisville Gardens, Louisville, Kentucky. Tommy Gilbert versus Tommy Rich, winner unknown, in a tape fist match. Then on September the 14th, in 1976, the Mid-South Coliseum, Memphis, Tommy Rich defeats Jerry Lawler for the Southern Heavyweight Championship.
And this is available on YouTube. Tremendous match. Jerry Lawler is beating down Tommy Rich several times. And as he at the corner, well, now he really ran at the corner. He was sitting at ringside. Jackie Fargo sitting at ringside, had his suit and everything on. He would continuously, every time Tommy Rich was going to be beat and was pinned, he would walk up onto the step. And he would go back and sit back down and drink his Coke or whatever he had. And then Jerry Lawler once again would have him beat. Jackie Fargo would run it back up there again. He did this a few times. And finally, Tommy Rich goes up behind Jerry Lawler, rolls him up for the 3 count, and becomes the Southern Heavyweight Champion. This is the important thing. That less than a year, Tommy Rich has been wrestling professionally, and now he's the Southern Heavyweight Champion. It showed what Jerry Jarrett, what he had. He had a lot of confidence in Tommy Rich to become that champion. Have y'all seen this on YouTube?
No, I have not.
Rodney, have you seen it?
No. I've been watching a different match with Tommy Rich in it. We'll talk about it later on.
All right.
In the broadcast, September 16th, 1976, the JC Sports Pavilion in Bowling Green, Kentucky. Tommy Rich and Eddie Marlin versus Tommy Gilbert and the Scorpions. September the 29th, 1976, Mid-South Coliseum, Memphis, Tennessee. Tommy Rich and Bill Dundee defeated Phil Hickerson and Dennis Conry. Soldier Sailors Memorial Coliseum, Evansville, Indiana, on September the 22nd, 1976, is Tommy Rich and Don Anderson versus Tommy Gilbert and the Scorpion. September 29th, 1976, back in Memorial Coliseum in Evansville, it's Tommy Gilbert versus Tommy Rich, and the winner unknown. It was a boxing match. Boutwell Auditorium in Birmingham on October the 4th, 1976. The Masked Superstars defeated Super Tex and Tommy Rich, and it was for the Southeastern Tag Team Championship. And then we have the JC's Pavilion in Bowling Green, Kentucky on October 17th, 1976. Tommy Rich and Frankie Lane defeated the Superstars. Louisville Gardens in Louisville, Kentucky on October the 19th, 1976. Gorgeous George Jr. versus Tommy Rich. Boutwell Auditorium on October the 11th, 1976. Tommy Rich defeated Roger Kirby in 21 minutes. The title changes hands. Roger Kirby was the Mid-America Heavyweight Champion, and Tommy Rich defeated him on October the 11th, 1976. October 13th, 1976, Memorial Coliseum in Evansville, Indiana. Tommy Rich and Frankie Lane defeated Dennis Condrey and Butch Malone by disqualification.
Tommy Rich now has 2 championships, Southern Heavyweight title, and he has the Mid-America Heavyweight Championship. Teams with Frankie Lane. You remember Frankie Lane, Rodney?
Cowboy Frankie Lane, I sure do. Awesome wrestler. And we have to understand, each one of these markets, Birmingham, which he was a champion, and the other market had its own TV program. They had its own productions in both markets.
And if you've never seen Phil Hickerson, Dennis Condrey, oh my goodness, one of the great tag teams in professional wrestling. Tremendous, just tremendous. But Frankie Lane, you don't hear too much of Frankie Lane, but you can kind of see why Tommy Rich, by the time he gets to Georgia Championship Wrestling, is as good as he is. Because look at the people he's wrestling against at this point in time in his career. All right, Jack.
October the 14th, 76, Coliseum in Jackson, Tennessee. Jerry Lawler, the champion, versus Tommy Rich for the NWA Southern Heavyweight title. And then on the 18th, Mid-South Coliseum in Memphis, Tennessee, Tommy Rich defeats Gorgeous George Jr. by disqualification. October the 23rd, Memorial Auditorium in Chattanooga, Tennessee, Tojo Yamamoto and Tommy Rich defeated Dennis Condrey and David Schultz by disqualification. Also on October the 23rd, Memorial Auditorium in Chattanooga, Tennessee, Dennis Condrey versus Tommy Rich ended without a winner as a no contest. October the 25th, 76, Boutwell Auditorium in Birmingham, Butch Malone versus Tommy Rich, who was the champion, ended without a winner as a no contest, and that was for the NWA Mid-American title. October the 28th, JC Sports Pavilion in Bowling Green, Kentucky, Tommy Rich and Don Anderson versus Jerry Lawler and Gorgeous George Jr. And then on the 31st of October, Memorial Auditorium in Chattanooga, Tennessee, Phil Hickerson, Dennis Condrey, and David Schultz defeated Tojo Yamamoto, Tommy Rich, and Rocky Johnson. November the 15th, Boutwell Auditorium in Birmingham, Tojo Yamamoto and Tommy Rich defeated Phil Hickerson and Dennis Condrey, who were the champions to capture the NWA Mid-American Tag Team titles. Then on November the 16th, Louisville Gardens in Louisville, Kentucky, Bill Dundee, Tommy Rich, and Playboy Frazier versus Jerry Lawler, Gorgeous George Jr., and Tommy Gilbert. November the 22nd, Boutwell Auditorium in Birmingham, Phil Hickerson, Dennis Condrey, and Eddie Sullivan defeated Tojo Yamamoto, Tommy Rich, and Don Anderson. And then on the 29th, Boutwell Auditorium again in Birmingham, Eddie Sullivan versus Tommy Rich, winner unknown, in a boxing match. December the 3rd, 76, Madison County Coliseum in Huntsville, Alabama, Phil Hickerson and Dennis Condrey versus Tojo Yamamoto and Tommy Rich, winner unknown, but it was a bull wire fence match.
Great matches at that time. I didn't realize that Eddie Sullivan ever wrestled in this area. I thought he wrestled mostly in the Gulf Coast.
Yeah.
But man, he evidently had a boxing match with Tommy Rich. I would love to see that. All right, Rodney.
All right, we come up on December the 8th, 1976 at the Fairgrounds in Nashville. It's Eddie Sullivan and the Executioner versus Jackie Fargo and Tommy Rich with a no contest decision in that match. December the 10th, 1976 is the Madison County Coliseum in Huntsville, Alabama. It was the Russian Stomper versus Tommy Rich, winner unknown, and that match was for the Mid-America Heavyweight Championship. It's Memorial Auditorium in Chattanooga on December the 11th, 1976. George Goulas and Tommy Rich defeated Eddie Sullivan and the Executioner by disqualification.
And we'll continue. Part 4 will continue. We'll finish up the career that he has in Memphis, Tennessee, because he's on his way to Georgia Championship Wrestling. He's there in maybe another 6-7 months, and then he makes his way to Georgia, and we have a lot to talk about when he gets to Georgia Championship Wrestling. If you enjoyed this video, give us the big thumbs up. Subscribe to the page. Go one step further. Hit that notification bell and let us know if you enjoyed this video.